Learn tonight's latest news surrounding Aubameyang as the story continues to take twists and turns. Are we getting closer now to signing Aubameyang? Find out today, you guys. To move on, we have updates on Thomas Tuchel and Wesley Fofana. We discuss Inter Milan's interest in Trevor Chalobah. We discuss the announcement of our new signing, Cesare Casadei, and we have some interesting news in terms of targets for the next summer window as Project Nkunku is a player on the horizon. So we have a ton of things to break down, discuss today, my friends. Of course, had to get a haircut for this video today. Shout out Moody for giving me the trim. I know you're watching this, bro, so respect. So if you guys are happy to see me looking normal again, if you guys are happy with the content, smash that like button. And to get straight into the video, I guess we have to start things off and let's discuss the news that dropped this evening and let's talk Tuchel and his fine. Now, the FA have fined Thomas Tuchel £35,000 and he has been given a 1-game suspension. However, when it comes to this suspension, it has been suspended at this point in time, and basically it comes down to the fact that a written reason from an independent regulatory commission is needed first before the actual suspension does take place. So potentially we could be seeing him against Leeds United. Let's see what happens. In the case of Antonio Conte, he gets no 1-game suspension and he gets a 15,000 fine. So obviously you'd imagine that after the very honest words of Tuchel holding the FA and the refereeing governing bodies up to accountability, they don't like that here. So naturally they are going to target him and they're going to look to punish him to try and reduce his voice, which is typical with how this country works in my opinion. So for me, this is absolute nonsense. Very annoying and frustrating, and it's just reminding me of last week's game where we still got robbed against Spurs. Nah, the sun's out today, my friends. Good vibes only. I'm not trying to be back in that place again. So that is the latest involving Tuchel. And let's move on to the big news on Aubameyang. Now it seems like we're getting closer and closer. Personal terms have already been agreed. Meetings were held last night as well too, and it's stated that it looks like we plan to double Aubameyang's existing salary. It's believed that he's earning around like 75,000 to 80,000 a week now at Barcelona, so he'd be earning around 150 to 160k. That's not too bad. Now, one thing is though, Barcelona had an original valuation of around 30 million euros, which is around I think 24 million pounds, and that is a figure we will not pay up. We don't want to do that. The reality is Aubameyang really is a quality, stopgap replacement until we plan for big things in the next window. So naturally, we can't afford to spend that much money on him. Now, this is where things get interesting today as the negotiations took many twists and turns. We found out that we offered Marcos Alonso plus 15 million in cash to Barcelona to try and get this deal over the line. You think that is absolutely fair, right? Barcelona are trying to sign Marcos Alonso. They're trying to register him as well too. That's decent money for Aubameyang considering that they signed him on a free, of course, like back in January. Why are they saying no to this? But the reality is Barcelona needs money in the bank. They need money to support boosting their wage bill to register players they own. And it gets interesting because they signed Jules Koundé. However, there is currently an existing clause in that deal suggesting that if he is not registered by the 31st of August, he is available to leave on a free. And I think Barcelona have to pay him between 2.5 to 3.5 million. So right now, we're not far away from the deadline. Pressure is on Barcelona and there is no way they can keep any stance where we have to pay more money over the odds to sign Aubameyang. For me, in my opinion, things must be in our favour at this point in time because we're trying to do you a favour by signing Aubameyang and we want to sign Frankie de Jong as well too. So now we wait for Barcelona's response, but it seems like negotiations are positive at least. And you'd imagine that a workaround will be found very soon because Aubameyang now has accepted those personal terms. He's okay with leaving Barcelona. It seems like Tuchel now is not too far off now from reuniting with his former player. And I still have question marks as to how it's going to work, but knowing Aubameyang, I'd like to think that he would play on the left-hand side, similar to what Timo Werner used to do for us, because even playing at Arsenal and throughout his entire career, he's one of those strikers that drifts out wide to receive the ball. So I think maybe he makes a lot more sense now compared to having more traditional number 9s that we've seen. But let's see how this story develops, my friends. So now we move on, and I think this next story links in quite nicely to the Aubameyang reports, as a report came out from reporter McGrath Mike, and we got some interesting news on the Telegraph. Essentially, next summer we have focus and plans to sign a big name attacking player. 2 names right now. Rafael Leao, which makes a lot of sense considering that Todd Boehly has, or appears to have, quite a good relationship with Mendes, and if you're holding multiple meetings with him, you're doing that knowing that there's a few of his clients that you like the look of, and you're hoping to build a good relationship with to get a possible future deal over the line. But I think a more realistic one seems to be Christopher Nkunku of RB Leipzig, with the club being massive fans of him. We showed our interest throughout this window. We made inquiries, but of course we knew that he was set to stay at RB Leipzig. They had no plans to sell him whatsoever. But next summer things are completely different. Now it has been reported that next summer, after Nkunku signed, of course, the new contract extension, which takes his existing deal now to 2026, that there would be a 60 mil to 65 mil release clause in the deal. The reality is that isn't the case. And essentially, RB Leipzig were able to persuade Nkunku to accept signing a contract extension as long as they doubled his salary offer. So instead of adding on to the 3 million he's earning now, they offered him 7 million euros instead to not accept any release clause in his deal. So next summer, Nkunku will cost you quite a lot of money, knowing that the length of his contract now has extended too. So it does feel like it will take big efforts, and you like to think that with the move taking Werner back to RB Leipzig, we have a good relationship with RB Leipzig over the years, let's not get things twisted, that we're putting in the groundworks to, put ourselves in good favour to try and entice the player. Now, some people may worry about things like Bundesliga tax, but I think for me, it's more about the player's profile and how they suit playing in a team. You can sign a player from any league whatsoever, as long as they complement your existing setup and your style of play. And as Werner himself said in interviews since signing for RB Leipzig, I rely on space. I need to use my pace to be effective in games. I don't suit playing in a possession style game. And that is the reality, because he doesn't have the technical ability really to play that style of way, so it's not really that fair to hold him to a standard that doesn't really suit him and that he isn't about. But with Christopher Nkunku, for me, as I was alluding to from last season, if we want to really embrace Tuchel's new way of playing, we need to sign the right profile so we're able to play between the lines, play in those central spaces. And for me, Nkunku is just so gifted technically. I love that unpredictable nature he brings to games. I love the goal scoring prowess. I love the flair. I love flair so much, you guys. I think this is why I love football. I want to see the best players expressing themselves and making this game look very easy. And for me, Nkunku is one of those guys that can definitely bring an X factor to us for next season. I think his link-up play between the lines, the competition alongside your Mounts, Havertz, Sterlings, etc., etc. And he had an incredible season last season. I'm expecting him to maintain and continue that. It's going to be interesting to see Werner and Nkunku playing up front together. Let's see what happens with that one. But I love already that we are putting in the groundworks now to get ready for completing this team for next summer, because I think we're still one window away from really having like a proper title challenging team. So that is the news on Nkunku and future business. We now move on and let's discuss the news on Wesley Fofana. Now, we do have brief updates on Wesley Fofana. We know that currently we have agreed personal terms with the player, and we presented a 6-year deal with an offer of around 230,000 a week, which is a crap ton of money. Now, there's further news. It was believed that maybe Fofana might take part in Leicester's game this weekend, but it seems like Brendan Rodgers now has decided to not use the player this weekend, and it kind of confirms a tweet that was released by Fofana where he was basically saying that, maybe people are lying and misunderstanding the situation. I've said nothing about not wanting to play this weekend, and Brendan Rodgers has confirmed things. And it's quite funny. Basically, all the Leicester City players have been like taking the piss and having fun about the fact that, of course, Fofana wants to move, he wants to leave. And I guess Rodgers didn't like that type of energy in the squad. And maybe he felt like if it's this clear to the players that Fofana's head is elsewhere, maybe it has to be clear to me, and I'm not going to use him this weekend. Which means that hopefully now that personal terms have been met, Leicester City play ball now, and we can find a workaround to get this deal over the line. I don't think we can afford to spend like world record fee money to sign him. I think that's too much. And there's a possibility that, let's say he's like peaks and primes, would even be worth that amount of money in 5-6 years time. You never know in this game. So I hope that we find a workaround. Well, of course, we have to understand the fact that during this stage of the window, we have to pay more of a premium now compared to if we made a move from at the start of this window. We understand that, but let's hope that Leicester City don't take things too far. But the confidence I get is that we've been here before with Ben Chilwell. Leicester City were quoting 80 million at the time. Ben forced his move out from the club. He signed for us for 50 million. And hopefully, with Rodgers understanding the fact that Fofana's head isn't fully here, it only makes sense that a move is on the horizon. So let's continue to watch this space. And now to end things with the two final stories, let's discuss the news on Trevor Chalobah, as Inter Milan are now showing interest in the player. Now this report has come out from many reports in Italy, and it does seem like many European clubs, especially Serie A clubs like your Lazios and Inter Milans, are showing interest in signing Trevor Chalobah for very good reason. Now this summer Inter Milan had to sacrifice selling Casadei as well as Pinamonti as well too, and they raised around 35 million. Based on that, it means that they can now keep Skriniar. He has been ruled out leaving. Paris Saint-Germain can't sign him anymore. Their offer of 50 million euros wasn't enough to begin with. So I guess Inter Milan are thinking about getting more competition roles and figures in their team. I think Chalobah could be a quite interesting one and a very good one. I think the FBref stats from last season really show that this is a guy that's very competent at progressing the play from wider areas. Very comfortable in moving further forward too. And in that sense, I get maybe like Koulibaly vibes in the sense of like, you know, they both kind of played in midfield quite a lot. And it's kind of easy for them to show their ball playing ability out from the back now, knowing that they have that comfortability when it comes to having to carry the ball further forward and playing in those midfield positions. And I think that's what makes Trev interesting, alongside the fact that he plays with his head up, moves the ball well, very tall, good aerially, and has great last-ditch tackles in this game as well too, plus many other factors I could go into, but now isn't the right time. Essentially, it comes down to the fact that if Fofana is signed, then Trevor Chalobah will naturally feel threatened. I mean, knowing the fact that Fofana's there, Aspie's remaining, and realistically might be playing more as a right-sided centre-back compared to playing wing-back, and knowing that Reece James could still be playing ahead of you in certain big games too, that's not going to give you much confidence in terms of being able to develop more and progress through games. So I like the ambition the players showing, at least thinking, listen, I'm not going to be any squad option here for the sake of it if I'm not going to get that faith that I am going to get minutes throughout the season. So I guess we have to see what happens here. Ideally, you'd imagine that Tuchel doesn't want to lose him, but it does make sense that if Fofana is signed, then that directly threatens his role and position in the team. Of course, in terms of squad options though, it's not ideal for us, knowing that we have maybe older players at the back to rely upon, but if you're giving new contracts out to players like this, it's only natural that we had to expect that we would be turning towards them throughout the season. So let's still see what happens. Anything can still happen, you know, who knows. But if we don't get Fofana over the line, then Chalobah of course will still remain, but we have to see what happens, my friends. And to end things, we announced finally our new signing in Cesare Casadei. Now, I'm not going to break down this game. I will have some links to previous videos I have done if you guys want to get full details and context behind the player. But we got some interesting quotes from our academy director, Neil Buff. As he said, Cesare is a player we have tracked for some time, and we are delighted that he has now agreed to join us, where he will initially strengthen our under-21 squads. It does make a bit of sense with the window ending soon and the fact that, you know, you can't be transferring players left, right and centre in such a short amount of time. It did feel like to me he would be remaining with the under-21s. It allows Tuchel time to like assess the player and see what he can offer, potentially to the first team now at least, because, you know, Kante's out, Cover's out, and you're expecting these guys to come back, you know, fully fit and ready in at least 5 weeks time. So Cesare gets acclimatized to this country. As Tuchel said in his press conference, he has to learn English as well too, so this is definitely like a very educational period for the player right now. And maybe in the next window, he might get that possible loan move, which would make a lot more sense once he's really settled down here. But seems like a very interesting talent. Of course too, as I said, watch my previous videos to get more of a lowdown on his game, what to expect from him, his similarities to other players, as well as how he plays too. So you guys, on that note, I'm going to wrap things up, keep things moving. Thank you for watching. Share your thoughts and opinions on today's stories in the comment section. Let's all get involved. Love reading what you guys have to say. And on that note, I'm in EFC. This is BlueLionsTV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.